Okay, this is the second video for section 0, or chapter 0, section 1 of your McGraw-Hill Algebra 2 textbooks. Again, these are additional examples of the very end of the previous video, so this should be a relatively quick video. We have here 4 relations, and we're supposed to determine whether each relation is a function. If it is not a function, we have to explain why not, and we have to state the domain and the range for each function. So number 4 is a table of values. Notice how if we look at just the x values, there are no repeated x values. That means that number 4 is a function. Okay, you don't have to explain, but here's why. No repeated x values. Every line, every row in the table has a different x value. That makes it a function. The domain would be a list of all the numbers in the x column, negative 12, negative 10, 8, negative 8, and negative 6. And the range would be the list of all the numbers in the y column, 0, 1, 2, and 4. So that takes care of that problem. Number 5 is a graph. So we run the vertical line test. Now watch carefully here. If I draw a vertical line here, what do you notice? Hopefully you're telling me, oh, well gee, that intersects 2 of my points, meaning that there are 2 points on the line. That means this is not a function. We have a repeated x value. So we could either say repeated x value, in this case x equals 1, that's one way to explain it, or you could simply say fails vertical line test. That would be an equally acceptable way to explain why this is not a function. The domain is a list of the x coordinates of every point on the graph. So we have negative 1, 0. We have 2 different points that have an x coordinate of 1. We have a point at x equals 2 and a point at x equals 3. Notice how we can bring those points to the x-axis and then just list where they are. Negative 1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. The range is a list of all the y coordinates. Again, we're not going to repeat any, but in this case we don't have any repeating y values. We have points at negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you're really struggling with getting the domain and the range off of the graph, write out the list of ordered pairs first, because you're probably not having much of a problem there. Or you could turn it into a table and then list the domain and the range. However you can get from point A to point B is perfectly fine. On number 6, is that a function? Pause the video, think about it, answer, list the domain and range. This is not a function. We have a repeated x value. Notice how there are 2 arrows. Coming out of 0. Okay, we have this is not a function because there are 2 different arrows coming out of x equals 0. We have that one and that one. That makes it not a function. Okay, so then we're going to list our domain and our range. Again, from a mapping, this should be extremely easy because all we're doing is listing the numbers from each bubble. The domain would be negative 3, 0, 1, and 5. And the range would be negative 4, negative 2, 0, and 2, the numbers from the range bubble. On number 7, we need to look for repeated x values. Notice that one occurs twice. So this is also not a function because we have a repeated x value. Of x equals 5. The domain would be a list of all of the x coordinates. So we'll go ahead and highlight the rest of those. We'll use pink, I guess. So domain values are those numbers I just put dots underneath. Again, we're not going to list repeats, and I don't care if you put them in order or not. It's unnecessary to write them in ascending or descending order. Simply need to be a set that lists every single x coordinate. The range would be a set of all the y coordinates. So if we put a dot underneath the y coordinates, that would be our range. Indicate the domain there. Okay. Those would be 5, 2. We're not going to relist the 5, 3. Not going to relist the 2, and -1. So again, when it comes to this kind of problem, we have to answer yes or no, it's a function. If it's not a function, we have to explain why not. Again, that's going to be a repeated x value. And then we have to list the domain and the range. So that should take care of section 0-1. You have homework to finish. Good luck.